So these guidelines don't apply to ACA plans. They don't apply to Medicare supplements. So I did want to make sure that that we're clear on that before we get started. And I think we did already have one question. And it won't be covering specific state web requirements either. There's 50 states, so it won't be able to get through all of those. There are a handful of states, though. Wisconsin's the one that pops to mind first. That does have a few kind of disclaimers that they require on top of CMS guidelines. So if you have any questions about your specific state, feel free to email me or give me a call afterwards, and we can discuss those in more detail. All right. Otherwise, we will get started. So today we're going to be talking about agent website requirements. And as many of you are probably aware, there's been quite a bit of buzz recently surrounding third-party websites due to a CMS memo that came out late last month. And as a result, carriers are required to have sort of a renewed focus on third-party websites. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So today we are going to review just a couple different things. We're going to go over the CMS memo. We're going to go over CMS guidance, types of third-party websites, prohibitions and requirements, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time walking through electronic BRCs, which are supply cards, so you can see the difference between a correct one and an incorrect one. And we're finally going to end on how to submit your website for approval. All right, let's get started. On February 24th, which was last month, CMS released a memo which was titled Inappropriate Third-Party Marketing and Enrollment Websites. And this memo, which was fairly short from CMS standpoint, was basically stating that they found numerous and concerning violations on third-party websites. And you can see a little excerpt right here from what they said. It went on to say that it was including things like asking for health information, different inappropriate requests for health status, misleading information such as identifying a Medicare supplement plan as a Medicare Advantage plan, or not being clear about what they were talking about. Use of prohibited terminology, which mainly included unsubstantiated, absolute superlatives, and then an absence of required disclaimers. So that's probably what we see more than anything when we start taking a look at agent websites. So not that any of you are probably dying to go out and read through all of the guidelines, but just in case you're wondering where they're getting their information from, these are the sections of the Medicare marketing guidelines and the Code of Federal Regulations that CMS is from. So all of the guidelines that we talk about today can be found in one of these areas. And as a result of this memo, CMS is requiring that all third-party websites be submitted to them for review, and that went into effect March 11th, so a couple weeks ago. Some of you may have gotten some emails from some carriers or from us asking you to submit your URL for approval, and this is what we're talking about. All right, so it's important to know what exactly is a third-party website. And there's a couple different things that may constitute a third-party website. For our purposes, it's going to be any website that's client-facing and created by an agent or an agency to talk about Medicare Advantage or Medicare Part D plans for information. It's important to note here that you don't have to actually go into details about these plans for it to fall into this category. Even if it's generic in nature, simply stating that you offer Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare Part D plans can make it fall under these guidelines. And it's really important to keep in mind that if you purchase leads from a lead generation site or vendor, those websites also have to comply with CMS requirements. And that's ultimately going to be up to you as the agent to make sure that those websites do meet the CMS guidelines. And most of the major vendors will stay very current with CMS guidelines and regulations. If you are using one, it is important to just kind of double check and make sure they have the appropriate disclaimers on there as well. And if you guys have any questions or need help on that, always feel free to reach out to us on anything like that. Okay, so we're going to move into what you can and can't have on your website. So that's really why most of you guys are probably here. We're going to start with what you can't do, since that always seems to be the longer list when it comes to CMS. So on your third-party website, you or a vendor cannot ask for health information. This is going to include pre-existing medical conditions, weight, tobacco use, age, and date of birth. So you can ask if an individual is Medicare eligible. That's okay, but you can't ask for their specific age or date of birth. And again, keep in mind, this is Medicare Advantage and Part D only. So if you have a website that only discusses Medicare supplement plans or only discusses ACA or life, for example, this section is not going to apply to it. You cannot ask for beneficiary identification numbers on your website. That's going to include things like their Social Security number, their HICA number, or any sort of Medicaid identification numbers. You can't ask for any sort of financial information, credit card numbers, income, resource limits, anything like that. You're not allowed to sort of solicit referrals from beneficiaries or from current clients. So you can't say, you know, send me all of your information and I'll call all of your current clients or anything like that. You can't offer enrollment into a Medicare Advantage or Part D plan directly from the website. Some of the carriers have online links on their web portals, and that's fine, but you can't link your website directly to an enrollment form. That's not at this time allowable by CMS on the Medicare Advantage side. You cannot use the word free when referring to any sort of Medicare plan benefit. It's got to be zero premium or, you know, something like that, but it can't be free. And of course, if you say zero premium on there, which we'll talk about here in a little while, it'll have to be approved by CMS since that is a benefit. You cannot charge any type of fee for providing information about Medicare Advantage or Part D plans or for assisting into an enrollment. You cannot claim that you represent all plans in a specific market. Even though you may represent all plans right now, if you forget to update it and a new plan comes out next year and you don't represent them, this is now a statement that's considered untrue. Also, in a lot of markets, we'll see very small kind of hospital plans that aren't opened up to agents, so you can't represent them. And now this is a false statement as well, so CMS prohibits that you stating anything like you represent all plans. You can say many plans or several or most or something like that instead. You're not permitted to inaccurately identify or refer to a Medicare supplement as a Medicare Advantage plan. And to make sure that everybody's on the same page with this, these are the titles that CMS came out with as approved titles when you're referring to these types of plans. And we see this as well in print advertisements. So if you guys are doing any sort of generic mailing, this is something that CMS and the carriers are looking for as well. So Medicare supplements should be listed as Medicare supplement insurance plans, Medicare Advantage plans, and then Part D prescription drug plans. No absolute superlatives, so no saying that a plan is the best, the lowest, the highest ranked, rated number one, anything like that. You got to avoid all of that. And then last page of prohibitions here. You can't claim that you or a specific plan are recommended or endorsed by any sort of government entity. This is going to include Medicare, CMS, DHHS, or Social Security. You can't display any benefit or cost-sharing information for the following plan year up until the AEP starts, the AEP marketing period starts. And again, if you have any benefit information on your website whatsoever, even if it just says zero premium or anything like that, it's got to be approved by CMS prior to use. That is a pretty lengthy process. It's usually about 60 days, and that's if the website goes in perfectly with no changes. So if this is something that you are wanting to do, make sure you start early because it's a very lengthy process to get that approved. And lastly, you can't display carrier logos without prior approval from the carrier. So if you guys have logos on your websites now and they have not been approved by those carriers, make sure that you get approval from them. Most times you can call into the carrier, into the agent hotline, and they'll be able to kind of walk you through the approval process. If you're contracted with us for anything, shoot me an email and we can help get those approved for you as well. There are a couple carriers that right now are not allowing logos on their websites at all. So do make sure that you reach out and make sure that you have the proper approval before you post the logo up on a website. All right, so now that we've gone over what you can't do, what can you? As long as you meet the following requirements, you can display your phone number on the website. You do need to make sure that you have a disclaimer somewhere on there, though, that says calling the number above will direct you to a licensed sales agent. You can include general information, and nothing benefit specific, just general information about Medicare or Medicare Advantage or Medicare Part D. Just make sure that all the materials and information are accurate and that anything that you're talking about is related to the current plan year. You can include materials and benefits if it has been approved by CMS and those materials and benefits have been approved by CMS. Again, just make sure that they are related to the current plan year benefit information. You can display logos, again, if they've been approved by the carrier prior to use. Just make sure that you have the current logo and everything is accurate and current. You can also use your sites for lead generation. You do have to comply with any additional CMS or carrier requirements. We're going to go into this in a little more detail since most agents do want to use their websites as at least one source of lead generation. Submissions. Like I said earlier, that CMS memo does require that all websites now be submitted for approval. Some carriers are being a little more proactive about this than others. Everything does have to be submitted up through a carrier. If you're licensed with us, you can shoot your website over to us and we can help get it to the appropriate carrier or carriers for you. But here's a couple different ways that you can make sure that everything gets submitted. You can either submit it directly through the carrier that you work with, and again, just give them a call or go onto their broker portal, and there's usually some information on walking you through how to do that. Or you can send it to us at complianceboard@agentpipeline.com. We need your full name or agency name, your national producer number, and then the actual URL of your website. And again, please keep in mind these are client-facing websites, not agent-facing ones. So if you are a large agency and you're recruiting agents and it's not a client-facing website that anybody can see, these guidelines don't necessarily apply to you. These are client-facing websites. And it is important to note here that if you have an agent-facing website up, and maybe your intended viewers are not clients, but they can kind of stumble upon it, CMS is going to consider it client-facing. So anything that you don't want a client to see and you don't want to have to get approved by CMS, make sure you have it behind a secure password portal for your agents or something like that. If you do have agent-facing websites and want to talk more about how to make sure that those are compliant, don't have to go through the CMS process, if you have information on there, again, reach out to me and we can walk through that in a little more detail on a case-by-case basis. All right. Electronic business reply cards. This is the lead generation portion of your website. This is why most agents kind of put their information up on a website, of course, to let members find them and to drive leads to them. So what is a BRC? A BRC is something that prompts the client to enter their information so that an agent can contact them regarding Medicare Advantage, Part D, other product lines as well. In this case, since we're talking about websites, we're talking about EBRCs, which are electronic business reply cards. And here's a pretty common example that we see that's not correct. You can see it asks for name, phone, email, address, and age. And then it has a little disclaimer at the bottom that says it's needed to ensure proper delivery. On first glance, this looks appropriate, and we don't see anything wrong with it. But there's a couple of things that would need to be adjusted. One, you can't require a member to provide any sort of information, so all of those little asterisks would need to go away. And then, oops, let me go back. Age, it does say age on here, and again, if you remember from a couple slides back, you can't ask for age. You would need to change that to Medicare eligible, yes, no, something like that, or are you Medicare eligible? So just a few little tweaks and a couple of disclaimers, and you will see an example of a correct electronic business reply card. So as you'll see, there's a disclaimer up top, which says, please provide the following information to receive information regarding Medicare Advantage plans, Part D prescription drug plans, and or Medicare supplement insurance plans. If you want to throw life or other products in here as well, that's fine, but you do need to have a disclaimer that at least states by providing your information, somebody may contact you about Medicare Advantage and Part D. Anything else that you want to add in there is fine. Some websites also have a little drop-down where you actually select the types of products that you want to be contacted on. That's fine as well. If you don't have that, though, you do need a disclaimer that says something similar to this. As you can see, the name, phone, email, address, all very similar to the first slide, but there's no asterisk, not requiring somebody to give that information. And the age question has been changed from age over to Medicare eligible. There's a couple different ways you can word that, so don't think you're tied into this, but you are permitted to ask that type of question. And then lastly, you need this bottom disclaimer right here as well. It states that whoever is filling in this information understands that providing my contact information authorizes consent to have a licensed sales agent contact you via phone, email, or address. If you don't have an address field in there, you can say just phone or email. So it's a little bit adaptable to your situation. But by adding these two disclaimers, changing the age, and then making sure that nothing is required, you now have a compliant electronic business reply card, and you can get leads generated through your website. All right, so we'll take some questions now. I think we have one. I did also want to let you know that we've put together a checklist of storage for agent websites. It's got a lot of information included, so anybody that wants a copy of that, and I'll give you my information here in just a second, shoot me an email after the call, and we can get that over to you. We'll also pull any email addresses from attendees today and try to get that over to you as well. And here, of course, is my contact information. There's two different ways to contact me. You can contact me personally either by email, or here's my toll-free direct line. We also have a compliance and oversight board here in-house, so feel free to reach out to that line as well. And this compliance board address is actually where we would prefer the URLs to go. We've got a couple different people monitoring that, so we can get to it a little bit quicker if you send it there. And then our website's online as well. So we do have one question, it looks like, and it says, what about RX information? So again, RX information is going to fall under the category of health information. So you can't ask somebody to provide their medication or RX information over your website. That would be something that you would want to have a conversation with in person. So you could ask something as basic as, do you take prescription drugs? That's really the final place you could get to from a website standpoint, and it's really a gray area. You should kind of just stay away from anything health-related, prompting people to put that information in over your website, and just do it when you're doing your fact-finding call, or if you ask me to do your fact-finding in your face-to-face meeting. Let's see. I think we got one more question. Okay. It says, are you actually submitting our websites to CMS or approving it for them? So we don't approve websites for CMS. CMS requires that all websites be submitted to them, and then they will kind of randomly choose some from time to time to take a look at. Obviously, there's too many agent websites for them to go through and approve every single one of them. We do try to take a look at all of the ones that get submitted to us. We've gotten about 400 in over the last couple of weeks, so we've obviously not been able to look at every single one of them yet, but we are trying to with our compliance board. Our goal is to try to take a look at them before CMS does, so that if we notice anything that does need to be updated or changed or added, we can reach back out to you and have that conversation with you. So hopefully by the time a carrier or CMS takes a look at them, they're already updated and compliant. You don't have anything to worry about. But we are having to submit those up to CMS, and carriers are having to submit those up to CMS as well. If you have one that maybe you've made a change to, maybe we submitted it 6 months ago and you've made a change to it, and you want us to take a look at it and just make sure it's still compliant, just shoot that over to us and say, hey, could you take a look at this really quickly? And we are trying to get those turned around as quickly as possible. Right now, we're sort of getting an influx in as a result of this memo, but generally we don't get too many in, on a weekly basis. So it's pretty easy for us to get them turned around to you guys in a matter of a couple of days. So again, any websites that you have that you want us to review, send us over to us. We'll get them submitted up to the proper channels, and then we'll also take a look at them as well and just make sure that we communicate back with you any sort of compliance updates or changes that we see. Can you, one more question, can you link to the government Medicare and U handbook? Yes, you can link to the Medicare website, you can link to the handbook, you can link to any of that information as long as it's the current version. Just make sure that if you put it on there, you update it if the version is updated. But there's nothing wrong with doing that or linking through to, the state DOI site or the state Medicaid site or anything like that. If it is for dental and vision, can they apply from the site? Again, these guidelines are for Medicare Advantage and Medicare Part D only, so it's not going to address dental, vision, hearing, life insurance, ACA plans, Medicare supplement plans, anything like that. So if you're working with a dental, vision, hearing plan and they have an online platform that you can link through to your website, that's fine. These guidelines are for Medicare Advantage and Medicare Part D only. Or I guess I should say these restrictions. Did you give us the address to submit it to CMS? Okay, you guys cannot submit directly to CMS. So again, let me go back here, a couple slides back to the submission slide. There's two different ways that you can submit your URLs right here. You can submit them either through us or you can submit them directly through the carrier. If you want to submit them to us, here's the information. We'll get them up to the carrier. The carrier will pass them along to CMS. If you prefer to just work directly with, with the carriers that you're appointed with, you can do so. You can reach out to them directly, and they can walk you through it as well. So it does have to be it does have to be submitted up to CMS, just the one time. But many of the carriers are asking for you to submit them to them as well. So if you're appointed with, 3 different carriers, it's always a good idea to go ahead and send your website up to each different carrier, especially if you have logos on it. Are you going to send the slides to everyone on the call? We will not be sending slides, but like I said in the beginning, this call is being recorded, and it will be up on our website. So anytime you want to take a look at it, just go to www.agentpipeline.com. You'll be able to view this whole webinar again whenever you like. If you want to email it out to somebody, you can email the link, and they can take a look at it as well. And then again, if you have any questions, just feel free to email me. Is there an approved business that develops eligible websites that you can recommend? That question is from Herschel. Herschel, there's not really one that does approved websites. There's several different vendors, though, that will help an agent develop a website. So I will make a note and touch base with you after the call, and we can go over those in a little more detail. There is a charge, and usually it's a pretty significant fee to kind of link through, because most of them are going to offer have benefit information on it, and when you start getting into benefit information, it's got to be approved by CMS, and it's got to be updated pretty regularly. So there's usually a fairly hefty fee. There's several different vendors, though, that you can go through to help develop your own. They are not going to probably be as current on CMS guidelines, so as they need to be. So it's still always a really good option whenever you develop your own, even if you have a vendor, to make sure that you get that up to us. We can take a look at it before you get it submitted or before you make it live. That way, if there's any sort of disclaimers that they may have left off or anything needs to be added, we can help you with that. Can you require a sign-in with email info to download government pubs? I assume that means information. So obviously, you can do that for agents. I'm not sure what purpose it would serve having a member log in to try to get information, since most of that information is going to be available on Medicare or something else they don't have to log into. What you would not want to do, though, is you wouldn't want to have any sort of benefit or member information on there specific to that person, because even though they have to log in to a site, there's still always a chance for something to go wrong and it to get hacked, and that's kind of going to be a breach of PHI. If you want to give me a little more detail about what types of information you would want to put back there, you can, and we can sort of discuss that in a little more detail. And again, we will not be sending the slides to everybody, but they will be available on our website. So go out there and you can take a look at this whenever you want to. a couple more questions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up so you guys can get back on your way. Can you put on the website, not the logo, but just a textual link like Aetna linked to their website? Some carriers allow this, some do not. Aetna is one that does not. If you want to say Aetna, Coventry, even if you just want to write it out, it has to be approved by them, and right now they are not approving logos or the name used on any websites at all. So it's going to depend on the carrier. Some carriers will allow you to put their name without the logo, others won't without it being approved, and others won't at all. So when you send it up, it's always good to just say, you know, I need to make sure that these get approved and work with each individual carrier. Some of them will come back and say that you don't have to. Others have to send it to their compliance and legal department for approval. And again, some are not allowing any sort of use of logos or names right now at this time. All right. I think that is all of the questions that we've got. So if you guys have any questions once we get off this call, definitely reach out to me. I'll put my information up here one more time just in case anybody didn't get it. And you guys can, you know, shoot me an email, give me a call. You can also reach out to our compliance board, and all of that information is right there. And thank you guys for attending. Hope you found this helpful.